Ettinger case and let everybody know the history about Betty Boop. And people like, are you kidding? I say, no, look.
He taught himself how to airbrush. And I still have that coat. I really do.
Well, we still have that going on today with that colonialism mindset.
Right.
A young woman got sued by a young white woman who copied her. This young woman came up with a hair clip for women that wear locks, because locks can be really thick and heavy. And she made them with a magnetic and just.
I just saw that on the news.
Absolutely.
In the news.
So
just
she's
a couple of days
recent, and so she sued her back, and it's just an amazing thing how a lot of times out in this day and age that our history. And as much as they want to try to smite it and remove it, we have these young people who are thirsty for it. So I said, this not going to hurt us. This is going to make people search and want to know.
Right. Because there's an assault on our history right now. All out assault on our history and everything about us, our jobs, and
music, theater,
everything. It's
what haven't we created
on African Americans? Don't be fooled. There's an assault on brown people, but underneath that assault on brown people is an assault on all people of color. But that's a political show.
Well, can I say this real quick? Can I piggyback off
what isn't political?
Because when I used to work in New York at a law firm when I was in school, I was reading the paper and I stumbled across, they were doing excavation downtown, and it was African bones they found under this building. Under Duane and Reed, that's my favorite drugstore in New York. Duane and Reed. It's on the corner of Duane and Reed, way down there. And so you look into it, and then you volunteer, and you find out that it was over 400 bones found under this one building. You know, it's a million buildings in New York. It was a little bit bigger than this. Over 400 remains. Half of them were children. And they were excavating us, white archaeologists, and wrapping our bones up in newspaper. So Howard got involved and sent black archaeologists down there. Yeah. And the only reason that they knew how old these bones were was because there was a complaint in the newspaper. I think it was 17 to 7, something like that. And so somebody was complaining about the Africans in the woods back over there, because it was none of those buildings down there with the World Trade Center is and all that.
That's a play in itself.
See that ceremony? Oh, I got one. It's called Kasali. And the young man, he goes deep sea diving with his friends and stumbles upon and doesn't, so nobody will steal it. But anyway, so yeah, they were under there because it was just the woods, so it was us Africans.
So they had been murdered and just
no, they were having a ceremony. People that died, us black folks that died. So they're taking us black folks out to the woods
and
burying them. Now maybe it was a couple of feet, but these people were under several hundred feet. I'm gonna say 200-300 feet. And my question to them was, why was our bones so well preserved? They said because they kept moving and shifting in the earth to get down that far. Isn't that deep? So the building next door.
Covering, no cases, no coffins, just the bones.
Just the body, probably wrapped in blankets or whatnot. So the building next door, we went and took a tour on that building, just right next door, and the people, there was a blessing because they took the bodies from under there as well, but they put symbolic bones and stuff and a symbol on the floor as a dedication to the Africans.
And why have we never heard that?
And I just recently heard that
suppression.
That Central Park was a black settlement.
Yes, it was.
Absolutely.
And they
to celebrate Black history. What Robbie put together was also of nutritional value for the soul and for the mind and for the intellect, because a lot of people didn't know the history of Sarah Vaughan and her beginnings. And then the young lady who was playing the woman who is Betty Boop, just the fact that when we were having her rehearsals, and I tell people, and I make jokes because I crack me, because I have PTSD, I'm always moving. If I'm still, my toes are curling. Okay? And I'd be like, raise my hand, Robbie. What I love is the fact that Robbie will allow for us to make a commentary or say something, and Robbie says, oh yes, and she takes it and puts it in a way that's constructive, because me being someone who loves history, especially our black history,
I love history
and
too.
this young woman who was 1 minute meek and mild, and how Robbie was able to pull up out of her, because we're cheering her on, but she became meek and mild. But by the next rehearsal, this young lady was about powerful. You know, it was like a phoenix rising from the ashes, and it was just the type of direction that Robbie was able to give. And I tell people, ooh, Robbie beat me up and put me in the corner, but really, honestly, Robbie has a firm hand, but that hand is edifying you. And there's a difference when you work with someone who is, you know, a director and who can see a vision within you and your portrayal of what you're going to put on that stage. So for me, you know, we said the performance of the night was her. Everybody think it's me because I'm this big, tall, light-skinned lady with this big old voice and everything. But I said the performance of the night was that young lady. Because when I was in the back and listening to her, we all in the back, we were in tears of joy because she poured it out. She listened. But she listened because she had someone to direct her in a positive way. And it was crazy because as we had rehearsals, we kept learning more and more history, so we just got all juiced up. We couldn't wait to do this play. So, well, the storytelling.
Right.
But it was very historical, and it was factual. But we'll talk about a non-factual entity that everybody thought was a true person that they went to go search for, and Robbie segue into that.
Okay.
Gorgeous Lourdes. But previously she was talking about you, Morgan. But Gorgeous Lourdes.
Is that Morgan?
Well,
Is she Betty Boop?
Little Betty Boop. I'm gonna send this to her.
Tell her I love her.
You are watching Curtain Call on Wjzz Cool TV, the coolest TV station in the world. So give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us comments, let us know what you think. Help us spread the word all about theater in the city of Detroit and around the country. If you're watching in Atlanta, let people know Curtain Call is on. If you're watching in New York, let them know the Curtain Call is on. Again, you're watching Curtain Call on Wjzz Cool TV, the coolest TV station in the world, streaming to you live on YouTube. Now, the fact that you've got this storytellers and telling history is such a wonderful aspect of theater.
Amen,
because theater is slice of life. I've always called the plays that I write slice of life plays.
Yes.
And I take these stories that may have come from my childhood, may have come from something I saw on the street, may have come from somebody I knew, themes about family. Of course, all plays have themes about relationships, and you can have conflict to have good theater. What I wanted to ask you, Robbie, I've noticed a number of your plays have been about like the Vandellas, and you mentioned a couple of singers in something special in Harlem, and one we well anyway,
Conversations with Dorothy Dandridge and Marilyn Monroe.
What are some of your inspirations for writing plays? Where do you get these stories from? And where do you get them from?
Something just clicks inside of me that says, "Oh, write that."
Okay.
So an idea came to me the other day. I'm gonna use him for the next Storytellers. He's out of Detroit. He was a writer that was murdered. Yeah. Who do you think that is?
A writer that was.
Well, you gotta come and see Storytellers.
See what I mean? You're gonna get some nutrition. You're gonna get some nutritional knowledge. Nutritional knowledge.
I got it right. You want to tell them?
You tell them.
She was talking about Donald Goins.
Oh,
Right, the one who wrote all those books.
Right.
His books are prolific.
Yeah, they are. One of the things about Donald Goins is that if I've worked in education, so I've worked with young people who, need motivating in some aspect or another. And so Donald, if you're in a school system, you got a young man who's street and doesn't want to read, give him Donald Goins.
Right.
I say, read this.
A young man on the streets would really appreciate Donald Goins' writings because it's reality of what his existence was. And it's funny you should say that. I just saw Seven. You know who Seven is, right? The actor.
Oh, that's a good friend of mine.
He's doing the
Seven
movie.
United Souls.
Yes, he is doing the movie of Donald Goins.
Oh, okay.
I saw him at the Sylvia Moy studio last week.
Do you know Seven United Souls, the actor?
No, I know the name. I don't.
Oh,
Please-
he's a
please
heck
make-
of a actor.
Please make the introduction. I've been friends with him for years, and he's phenomenal. He actually was.
I don't know.
Let's get him on.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to.
But that's what I was talking to him about. I want him
Oh,
to come
please
on because
do.
Okay, let's
he's
get him
doing
on.
the movie of Donald Goins.
But-
Now, when is
Okay.
he doing that movie?
He's in process now because he sent me a clip of it. And I was just blown away because I used to, as I told him when I was a teenager, I used to have the Donald Goins books, and my stepmother didn't know I was reading those books.
Nope.
I had my flashlight up under the covers, and I was reading. I'm supposed to be going to sleep so I can go to school. But I got so invested in his stories, and she never knew. But I read all of his books. I
Well,
did.
let me say this. Please, 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 because I'm going to reach out to him today.
Okay.
He also played the man who Django Unchained is actually about. So he's worked with Samuel Jackson and everything. He's a native Detroiter. He's a good friend of mine.
He's an
And he was
excellent
giving
actor.
acting classes. You got to work with him. And the fact that you said, well, read this to the young men. Colin Powell said, and he's one of the few Republicans I really could respect because we were Republicans first as black people.
Right.
Right.
I tell people
Yes,
there's nothing
yes.
wrong with being a Republican, nothing wrong with being conservative. It's just don't be too off the beaten path. However, he said we lose our young black and brown boys by the 3rd and 4th grade when they're not literate.
That's right.
And see, when you said, well, read this, because most boys in school, they don't want to read things that they think is too girly or too
Or even
school
white. They
like
don't
or
want
too white.
Right, stories that they cannot relate.
can't
And
relate
you
to.
say read this, and you go, what's this about? Then they go like this, and then their mind is and then they're thrown into learning how to
To
become
read.
literate.
Right.
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 And when our children are learning how to become literate, and we introduce them to the arts, and you talk about curtain call,
everything.
it changes the whole
does.
mindset of
Yes, it
our
does.
young people of color,
It
and,
does.
and we're and with
It does.
spiritual nutrition, okay, nutritional knowledge, okay. That's what these plays do.
Right.
You know, artist
Self-awareness,
nutrition, self-awareness,
all of
absolutely.
that, all of that.
Art is medicine.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah. Art is life.
Yes.
You
Yes,
know
it is.
that you don't get art without life, and your life is nothing without art.
That's
Right.
right.
Well, for
And
ye
music
believers
is
in
the-
God, God is the creator of
connector.
art. Aren't we
And
living
Right.
art?
Right.
The
Yeah.
music pulls us all
Right.
together too. I know
Right.
that going across the ocean.
Music is a universal language.
Yes, it is.
No
I don't
lyrics,
care
we
where
all
you
gonna
go.
dance to it, right?
That's
Right.
right.
And if we have lyrics that fit anybody's and everybody's situation, some people just be turned on by the sound of Whitney Houston's voice.
That's
Right.
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 There are people don't even know how to pronounce Whitney Houston or Michael Jackson. They hear their voices.
They
You're
get
right.
excited.
You're
It's just a
absolutely
certain
right.
frequency.
Because
And-
it touches their soul.
And like I said, I'm sitting here with people that are believers in God, and I tell people, I don't believe in God, I believe God. And what I mean is, when you believe in something, you believe that it can be. I believe what God is.
Absolutely.
And we are
That's
living
a
art
perfect
of what God is. We are the tangible of the intangible.
Right.
Absolutely.
What you have on is a statement of how you feel about yourself, and it's art. And arts is the way.
That's right.
And you a director, girl, and a writer, and a what?
And you
Playwright.
a singer.
And I'm an actor,
and a
comedian,
writer, a
and a
game
writer.
producer.
And you a singer and a playwright and everything. Look at all this talent up in here and all of it. And Mr. Douglas, you don't know what you're doing up in here, baby. How long is this show? 3 hours?
We only got 50 minutes in our
Only
company.
50 minutes.
Roger, bring us some dinner.
You're going to have us come back because there's so much to talk about.
Red, I know there's so much to talk about.
Just our beginnings and what we're doing.
And so that brings us to how did she get here?
Auntie 313. Okay. Now, you mentioned before we started a work that you're performing in. that was written by Robbie. So now is a segue into the show that you're doing, and anything you want to say about it. Promote it, talk it up. And it's so Detroit.
It's a deep story. So let me
clarify.
And it is Detroit all the way.
It's Detroit is so rooted in Detroit, but it's a national story because she was a beloved national figure from
international.
International.
Who doesn't love Aretha?
Right. So let's talk about Aretha.
All right, everybody. My name is Erica Carter. I go by #Auntie313. I might not be your mama, but I can sure enough be your auntie. But as a singer and actress and comedian, I'm known as Moon One Love. One moon, one love from above, and the moon represents the female aspect of God, hence our lunar cycles and everything that has to do with all things feminine. So let me just say, the humble beginnings. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm always humming, I'm always singing. So the people I play tennis with, a gentleman friend of hers named Ant, and he said, you know, sister, with that God-given voice, I need to introduce you to my friend. I said, who? She's a director and producer, and she lived in New York, so he gave me the rundown. And I said, well, go ahead, introduce us. He said, well, let me have your number. So I said, well, I'm going to give you my number, you give it to her. And I said, and wait, give me a little bit, because I had strep throat at the time. So she reached out to me, and as she reached out to me, I said, well, we talked back and forth. I'll be able to meet with you in 2 weeks. I'll be able to be in full voice, because I'm hoarse right now. But at the time, so she said, well, do you have anything for me to see? So I took her to my Instagram, and then she calls me. She texts me back. She said, your charisma is off the chain, and your voice is amazing. And I'm like, she like that? Oh, my goodness. But I'm going to listen to her. So we finally met, and we met at the International Center in Kirby and John Eyre. Right, John Eyre? When I tell you it was kismet, it's like I met my soulmate in the arts, and a dream came true for me. And I just want to say, as far as the play goes, I created it, Robbie directed it, and we produced it together. But we're about to do some writing together to just format a little bit stronger, because we did our beta phase. And the thing about it is, a good friend of mine named Deirdre Jackson, who used to be a promoter, I told her about
Wheelchair Deirdre Jackson?
Yes. My very good friend, Miss Deirdre Jackson. Because we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, she was a student of mine.
Need to have her on.
And when I first moved up here, she was in my first class of students.
Amazing woman. Amazing woman.
Yeah.
And she heard me singing one day. She said, Erica, most people don't know, but, I used to be a promoter. And her former boyfriend, Quentin Perry, is a man who put Prince on his first world tour. And that's how I got to meet Prince and from the time, Morris Day, is because he was being barbered at my sister's salon on Livernois. So we got a lot of celebrities. So all this goes into what we're talking about. I told her, I said, I want to do a play called a storytelling play, because I've done storytelling with the Twisted Society, Secret Society of Twisted Storytelling with Saturi Shakur, who's amazing. So I've learned how to do storytelling. I've done several of her events. So in a nutshell, I presented to Dee Dee. I said, Dee Dee, I want to do a play, and a storytelling play about my life crossing paths with Aretha Franklin. And I gave her the gist of it. She said, Erica, if you don't do that, I'm going to whoop your, Dee Dee's a matter of fact and very frank. And I said, okay. I said, but I need a producer and a director. She said, you'll find one. Okay. So as they say, water seeks its own level. So from that, I presented it to Robbie. Robbie said, let's do it. And then before we started working on that, she said, I want to put you in my storytellers play. I said, sure. And what we did, we worked on a preview of what the Aretha Franklin story would be about. And it's called A Queen's Tribute to the Queen. And it's about how my life crossed paths with Aretha Franklin, just to denote some facts. My sister did her hair in 1982 for Mobile when she did a commercial when Freeway of Love was a big hit. So I have a story about when my sister did her hair at her house and how when she asked my sister did she want anything to drink, and my sister said, well, yes. And then she went to her in West Bloomfield, went to her refrigerator and had Kool-Aid in a picture, and how down to earth Aretha Franklin is, and then how her god nephew, he's been in 2 of the bands I've been in. I've been in 3 bands, and her last CD, her last music she put out, he co-produced 3 songs. And then how I was doing shows for this group called Brothers Together Forever, and their church is around the corner from Aretha Franklin's church, and they grew up knowing her as God Auntie, God Mama. And before Miss Franklin transitioned, they had asked me to do a tribute to her, and I said, when do you need it? They said next Saturday. I said, you asking how long does it need to be? They said about 25 minutes. I said, you asking me to do a tribute to the Queen and have it ready in 9 days? Well, we had a committee meeting. We felt that you could do it, and all the singers and everything. We felt you could vocally carry her. I said, this is the world's greatest singer. You asking me? So there's the part in the play called How Did I Get Here? And the first act is Calm, and the second act is Respect. So at the time I had a recording studio at Star Factory on Oak Park, 8 Mile and Schaefer, or Coolidge if you're on the Oak Park side. And I was working with a brilliant engineer musician, Brian Benos Holt. And we were only able to pencil in 4 rehearsals. And he's brilliant. He plays the piano, drums, keyboard, and guitar. 2 2-hour rehearsals, 2 4-hour rehearsals. And we were able to put together a 25-minute tribute to the Queen, Aretha, and we had to go and just dig deep. But what that did, that made me fearless as a singer, and then learn so much more about her. Because me growing up, Al Green and Aretha Franklin was grown folks. Donald Summer was my favorite singer, Chaka Khan and Phyllis and, Minnie and all of them. But who were they all inspired by? The Queen. And every year, Time, Rolling Stones magazines, all these noteworthy publications, they do the 10 greatest singers or the 100 greatest singers of all time. And for the last 30 years, it's always been number 1 is Aretha. And it's not just because of her dynamic vocal ability. It's her ability to take a song, make it her own when she does her rendition or cover. And they called her the genius because she was self-taught as a pianist. And Reverend James Cleveland helped to polish her talent. And not only that, her awesome songwriting that she and her sisters, and one of her sisters, who she wrote hits for Aretha, and she co-wrote some hits with Aretha. Aretha wrote some of her songs as well, so a lot of people didn't know that. So I would see Aretha Franklin at Franklin Racket Club. We were told not to speak to her, but if you saw her, made eye contact. So I would see her at Franklin Racket Club. My sister did her hair at for the Mobile commercial in '82 when Freeway of Love was a hit. I met 3 of her sons over on Tuxedo in Linwood because her oldest son, Ted, who sings like her and Smokey Robinson and Michael Jackson, he dated a girl that was one of my background singers. So I got all this proximity to Miss Franklin, the Queen. And then twice, Brian Javon Garrett, put me on speaker to speak to her. He said, Moon, Moon. Everybody in the streets called me Moon. Sing for her. And I sang for her, and she said, oh, you sound real good, young lady. And then the third time I got to speak with her, we did a rib run for her at North Barbecue. So it's these stories. And then I used to I'm a cosmetologist by day, performing by night. But anyway, I used to do a young lady's hair named Big Niecy. Niecy is like 6'2", real beautiful girl, thick head of hair, real Queen Latifah beautiful. And she's really like she's just tall, and she's a big girl, and she has this beautiful hair. And I would do her hair, and every time she would visit Aretha Franklin's church, she's like, tell that girl I want her to do my hair. So I had these segues of Aretha Franklin, and we put together something beautiful, and right now we're revamping it just to make it even more tight, more poignant, more factual. Then also, Lynette McKee, sister from the original Sparkle movie, I took acting classes from her, and when she was here over in Berkeley, and she talked to us about how the girls felt about Aretha Franklin doing the soundtrack. That was the album. They were upset about it at first, but they understood Curtis. Well, hold on now. This is what she said. This is what she said to me. When we go see the movie, we see the girls, her and Irene Cara and the other young lady singing. So when you think of the soundtrack or the album that's going to come out, you think you're going to hear them. But Curtis Mayfield explained to them that Aretha, he wanted the soundtrack to be as successful as the movie, and actually the success of the soundtrack with Aretha's voice drove the movie to be even more popular.
That's true.
And then they understood because these young ladies were unknown, and this was Lynette McKee's very first movie. So with respect and regards to that soundtrack, that to the movie, that album was a huge success, which actually paved the way for many other albums to be super successful for other movies. Waiting to Exhale,
Claudine.
Claudine,
Absolutely.
Saturday Night Fever, things like that. So Whitney Houston again, Preacher's Wife, Whitney Houston again, The Bodyguard. So you look at what Aretha was able to contribute, and why people, because her music and her lyrics and her delivery make you seem like you in her dining room or the living room or in the kitchen are talking. When she go, how am I gonna get a lost word of Aretha Franklin?
What song are you searching for?
Looking out on the morning rain, doo-doo, I used to feel so uninspired, doo-doo-doo-doo. And when I knew I had to face another day, oh Lord, made me feel so tired. So it's her delivery, and then that lisp, that actual song, and you go ahead and she took that song written by Carole King, and it became this huge hit. What woman doesn't love Natural Woman?
Right.
And then what she did to Stevie Wonder's Until You Come Back to Me. So it's so many stories, and it's also about how her music, after I delved into it, I had an out-of-body experience doing that tribute. So Robbie and I have been able to tap into that, and now we're reworking it, and the beta phase of the play we did, and the beta that we did, we had people laughing, crying, standing up, stand ovations, and singing along, because who doesn't want to sing along with Aretha?
Right. If you know the music. So we can look for that.
Pretty soon.
Available? Okay. So we want to be able to promote that. So
We'll come back.
Well, yeah, I was about to say we're going to have to do a part 2 of this show, because this show's, we just beginning the tip of the iceberg.
Just like the
here.
iceberg.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's so much.
Now say one more thing, because I can go. We know we need to have you all there, because we're going to give you a slice of life, because you're going to want a second slice. And guess what else we do?
What else we do?
Robbie and I are working on a podcast based on a character that I played in a play called Vineyards of the Valley. But what I did was I asked the woman who wrote it, could I give Gorgeous Lourdes a backstory and make it more so because of what I knew, what I grew up with. My father being a gangster, so this woman ran a brothel and the numbers in Paradise Valley in the Black Valley. So Robbie has allowed me, with a few performances of the storytellers, to take a part of the play. And what I did was I created a whole backstory of this woman who comes from the outskirts, 40 minutes outside of New Orleans, from a farm to Detroit, and becomes a multi-millionaire. And she has a place, a lounge, speakeasy lounge called Chez de Lourdes, House of the Lourdes. Now her name is Lourdes, but she's called Gorgeous Lourdes. As you can see. And then not only that, Gorgeous Lourdes, she's not just photogenic. She has a photographic memory, so she didn't have to write numbers down for the numbers. So I did this, and each time I've done this to her storytellers, people think this is a historical person.
Okay, I'm not sure if we're but our timing is probably up, and so I want to thank you guys for coming, and we're going to try to get you back again, especially before you put up Aretha, so that we can promote that. We want to thank you for being here today, both of you ladies. And Diane, we'll be back next week. So thank you again. This has been so entertaining, so educational as well. So thank you.
Spiritual nutrition.
Spiritual nutrition. We're learning something
nutrition.
now. Yeah.
Historical nutrition.
Yeah.
And never a dull moment with the two of us.
And we can say that again. Okay. So thank you for watching. Tune in next week when our guest will be Jonathan Williams.
Thank you for having us on.
No, that was great.
And what I would like to, Robbie, with your permission, because we're going to be working on this podcast, I would love for us to be able to come back. And when I come back, I'll be dressed as Aretha, because I wear the wig, I make the wig.
Yeah, we can do that.
And I'll be dressed as Aretha, and we can even bring Charlie, the guy who plays the piano, and we can do like a 10-minute, like what we've done in her storytelling. We do like 10-15-minute
Here she is.
preview.
Let me pull it up. Uh-oh.
So that's the last song that I sing. Everybody get up there on the stage.